Well, can I ask you let's move on to big picture stuff here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about global landscape. As somebody who's been at the coalface of the game for, well, a decade and a half in your case, you've played through some of the biggest changes to the game at domestic and international level. So you can grab any subject you like. I'll give you a few starters. I mean, the team at the Champions Trophy have played fewer 50 over games internationals than any other country because they don't play 50 over cricket. Harry Brooks played half a dozen, I think. And so, does England need a 50 over tournament at the beginning of the season, as a lot of people have suggested? And and will franchise cricket continue to eat away at international cricket? You can pick any of these. I'm just interested in your 15 years of experience and your views about the future.
I think definitely the 50 overs has to be in our format as much as the format has almost complete apart from World Cups and Champions trophies, it's completely died out almost. It's like it is the worst format to play, and I think there's many reasons for that. I think the rules are terrible. Like to have that extra fielder in
Mm.
after I think it's a horrendous rule for taking wickets, building any sort of pressure. Guys are averaging 60, 70 in ODI cricket now because of that. Like I remember when you're bowling at somebody and you put a little bit of pressure, he just reverse sweeps and it's not a single, it's a four.
Mm.
Or it'll come down and it's just there's always an option for them to. And then on top of that, you have two new balls. So you lose the reverse swing, you lose the art of trying to hit a softer ball or
Yeah.
everything's always in the middle and crisp and it's flying off your bat and stuff. And I think for those reasons, it makes the cricket's just died. In 50 over cricket has died. So that I think, needs to be looked at massively. And what was your other point? There was 50 over.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
franchise cricket?
And I think franchise cricket is sadly eating it all up. And the problem is the money that's out there and the money that's been thrown at there. It's so much that people just don't. You can't turn it down almost as players,
Mm.
especially when you're backing up your career. It's very difficult. There's probably guys who are probably going to retire in the next couple of years from international cricket earlier to play franchise cricket.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that is a worrying and a frightening thing coming from somebody who's played, a huge amount of cricket, both domestically and internationally and globally. The obviously the bugbear of mine. I've got Manners will tell you, and Manners will agree with me. I've got a big issue. I've always had a big issue with the format of the 100, and I think what's magnified in the recent past of English white ball cricket is that when you look at the IPL and you see England's T20 team go and play against basically India here, and the likes of Abhishek Sharma and Tilak Varma, Sonju Samson, Bishnau, they played in that game. They're all a byproduct of the IPL.
Yeah.
We are playing a format that nobody really understands. And I can't think of in the years that the 100's been. So my issue is not it's played in August. My issue is not it's just this competition that nobody really seems to understand the playing and where are we producing our young players, because I can't think of anybody, and possibly Jacob Bethel, that's come out of the 100 that's improved our white ball game. How do we change that?
I totally agree, and I think there's few things. So I don't know if you notice in the 100, the ball just seems to swing a lot. It's seeming around. All the bowlers that do really well are test bowlers. So like we had Tim Southee. I know Milne's been doing well for a very long time, but guys who just bowl good areas and a bit slower, like almost test length, and it's almost impossible. Sometimes it was almost impossible to hit them, and that's because of the wickets. And if you look at the way India play in IPL, it's on flat wickets against the best bowlers. The guys go out and they can go and play. And I'm not saying it should be always flat wickets and it should always be fours and sixes, but this is where they get their confidence from. So Jacob Bethel, actually prior to playing in the 100, was still doing really well, and I think he would have been then still knocking on the door of England. But we have this. So because we don't play 50 over cricket, the top players don't play in the country. So someone like Harry Brook, and who's a top player, and he will be an England great player in my opinion. But at the minute, when it comes to 50 overs, he's not sure what to do. So it's not sure if to go out like a T20s or this test match and soak it up, etc. But even in test matches, he doesn't really soak a lot of it up. And I think it's a bit confusing for the players because they don't play 50. No one plays 50 over cricket in any way. So the best way would be to always emulate international cricket as much as you can. So the 100, I do agree. It's a great format in terms of the kids watching and people that don't know about cricket. It's much faster and it's a lot easier to understand, etc. But I think that is hindering our players a little bit because they're not. It's almost a bit of a. It becomes a little bit like a slugfest for the younger players, and they just think we have to be striking at 200. And people forget that even in T20 World Cups when we're playing, there's times where you have to soak it up. There's times where you have to knock the ball around, and you don't get that in the 100.